It's your brother Shemayala again, coming back at you with another lesson. I want to give all praises, glory, honor, and thanksgiving to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Mashiach, Yahweh Shah, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. And this is for the elect, the hopeful elect, right here. Because, as the scripture saying, gonna be no guile found in their mouth, man. No guile. Okay? We gonna tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help us the Most High. Okay? The whole truth. You know what I'm saying? We wrong, we gonna correct ourselves because we just had that spirit to where we gonna be humble. You know what I'm saying? Preset real quick, man, before I start out. You know what I mean? Let's go to Jeremiah 48:10. Cursed be he that doeth the work of the Lord deceitfully. Cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood. So, to all you guys talking about Hispanics and Native American Indians and Israelites, you off, man. Continue to teach that. You cursed. Okay? Cursed be he that doeth the work of the Lord deceitfully. Okay? Curse, man. Now, let me read this disclaimer real quick, and I'm gonna continue on where I left off. Alright, in this article we will identify the Buddha and early Buddhists as descendants of Hebrew Israelites. It is not the intention of the information presented to encourage or promote the practice of the Buddhist religion, as it is extremely pagan. However, an understanding of the history of the originators of Buddhism will help us to better understand the historical Israelite presence and influence in the Far East, and that's what the point of this lesson is. Okay. It isn't to have you get into Buddhism. It's to show you actually who the Buddhists were. Who were they? They wasn't who you think they are. I mean, I'm showing you through these videos, right, in the scriptures, who they were, man. That's what I'm showing you. I'm identifying them as being the Israelites according to history. Okay. Artifacts, maps, okay, historical facts, and things of that nature. Alright? Now I'm going to continue on where I left off, man. Alright, around here. Let's see. It says the Zoroastrianism of ancient Media Persia is rooted in sunfire worship. The Israelites in Iran became known as the Sakasuni, sons of Isaac, and as they passed through the country into India, they introduced these same Persian worships into India. Sakyamuni, sage of the Saka Scythian clan, is the individual credited with the introduction of the blend of Scythian and Zoroastrian mystical beliefs to India. He was called the Buddha, and his religion, Buddhism. Buddhism seems to have been heavily influenced by Zoroastrianism. Alright, continuing on, man. Zoroastrianism influenced the development of Buddhism more directly through the cult of sun worship, which was introduced into India in the 3rd century BC. Sun worship is referred to in the Digha, and it is ridiculed in the Adhikaptanai Jatka. Many familiar names of the Mahayana are suggestive of sun worship. Example, Amitabha is measureless light. Vairocana, the brilliant one. Dipankara, light maker. Gautama Buddha himself is called Aditya Bandhu, kinsman of the sun. Now, that's the original name for Buddha. Gautama Buddha himself is called Aditya Bandhu. Okay. Now that name goes back to the tribe of Gad, when you read certain references. Let me just pull it up real quick. Okay. It says Buddhism, a religion that has millions of followers worldwide, may in fact have Hebrew roots and Hebrew origins. We will not discuss the spiritual beliefs of Buddhism, but rather the founders' origins in terms of ethnic and tribal identity. Okay, so this right here is being presented to you to show you and identify, to help identify who Buddha was, man. His tribe and all of that. Alright, so it says Buddha, whose real name is Siddhartha Gautama, was born sometime in the late 6th century BC. Okay, now I think that kind of corresponds. Well, yeah. Well, the sun worship was introduced into India in the 3rd century BC. So, well, a few centuries off, right? So it says Buddha whose real name is Siddhartha Gautama, was born sometime in the 6th century BC in Lumbini Grove, which is said to be a royal park of the Sakyas, which is located in between the Kapilavastu and Devadaha townships, while others suggest he was born in a village of the Sakyas rather than Lumbini Grove. According to tradition, his father was King Adodana of Kapilavastu, and his mother was Queen Maya, who was the daughter of Devadaha. Devadaha was the brother of King Siddhartha. The tribe which Buddha is associated with was known as the Sakyas. Buddha is said to have come from the Gautama, or in the Pale language, Gautama's clan, which are a branch of the Sakyas tribe. The clan from which Buddha comes from is noticeable in his name, Siddhartha Gautama or Gautama. But who were the Sakyas and who was this clan called Gautama? That is what we are about to discover in this next piece. Now, this is where the point is. Okay, it says the Sakya tribes that settled in what is today Nepal was known and referred to as Shakya. Okay, sound like Shaka Zulu, you know what I'm saying? That's probably another extension of the tribe of Gad, you know what I mean? It says, however, the Shakya also refer to themselves as Kathaya and are said to be a branch of the Gautama family or clan. The name Shakya is another rendering of the name Saka, which translates to Isaac. The Saka also refer themselves as Kathaya. The name Kathaya is also rendered as Kushal or Kushal, and the name Kushal seems to be another form of the name Kush. The name Kush can be applied to Ethiopia and Africa. However, the name Kush was also applied to indicate ancient India, or rather portions of what are today the nations of Afghanistan and Pakistan, as well as northwestern India. However, due to the vast amount of land that is called Kush by the classical writers, the specific area from which the Shakya come from within the land termed as Kush is nearly impossible to determine. In addition, and before we forget, the Shakya in particular are said to be a branch of the Gautama family. The name Gautam is of interest, for the name itself seems to point to none other than the Israelite tribe of Gad. Okay? When we take a closer look at the name Gautam and break it down, we get the name God, for the T can sound as a D and thus be interchangeable and sounds and looks similar to the Hebrew name for Gad, which is God. Okay? So there you have it, man. Gautam, which is the name of Buddha, his original name. Gautama Buddha himself is called Aditya Bandhu. Okay, so that original name extends or goes back to the tribe of Gad. So he could have been very well a Gadite, man. You know what I'm saying? You never know. But continuing on, it says the Magas, Magi, are mentioned in Indian literature as the priests of the temples of the sun in northwestern India. It is probable that they established an organized sect of sun worshippers on the basis of Zoroastrianism and the ancient Indian domestic rites of sun worship. The solar myth penetrated deep into every phase of Buddhism, and many bodhisattvas were endowed with solar attributes, as from the Bodhisattva doctrine in Buddhist Sanskrit literature by Hardayal, page 39. Now, I want to deal with the Magas here, man, because that's a very interesting thing that I found in the scriptures that we can tie in to what we reading. All right, let me go here to Matthew. Matthew chapter 2, man. Start verse 1. It says, now, when Yahushua was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem. Now, who were these wise men that came from the east, man? Could they have been Magi? Magas? Let's see. Let's look at the Greek, man. Let's look at the Greek for wise men. Okay? G3097. Okay. Listen to this.
Magos.
Oh, Magos, man. That's directly in line with what we was reading. Look, hold on. The Magas, Magi, are mentioned in Indian literature as the priests of the temples of the sun in northwestern India. Magas, man. So not only are they mentioned in Indian literature, they mentioned in the scriptures. Right? Boom. So we got a damn anchor. We can tie this in with the scriptures, man, because it's right here. It says a foreign origin, Rabbi, a Magian, Oriental, you know what I'm saying? That's of the Orient, the East, the Far East, man. Scientist, by implication, a magician, sorcerer, wise man, okay? So, come on, man. Now, these wise men could have came from India, bro. They could have been Buddhists. Because Buddhism was a well-established religion way before Yahushua was on the scene, way before he was born. Okay, so they could have came from the India, man, Far East, man. Because they said they saw a star in the sky. Well, I think it's verse 2. It says, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen a star in the east, see? And I come to worship him. So, boom, we got proof right there, man. These Magi came from the Far East. You know what I'm saying? Hold on real quick. Alright. So we seeing them coming from the Far East to come to worship the newborn king, Yahushua. Alright, these Magos, these Magi. You know what I'm saying? So the Magas are mentioned in Indian literature as the priests of the temples of the sun in northwestern India. It is probable that they established an organized sect of sun worshippers on the basis of Zoroastrianism and in the ancient Indian domestic rites of sun worship. The solar myth penetrated deep into every phase of Buddhism, and many bodhisattvas were endowed with solar attributes. So, how did these men know to come? How did they even, I mean, they saw the star in the sky, but what told them that the star in the sky meant that the newborn king was on the earth, man? You know what I'm saying? Well, how did they know, man? Because they had knowledge of astrology. Okay? Let me just go to that real quick. They had the knowledge of astronomy, man. Not astrology, but astronomy. Okay? deal with that real quick, man. All right, this is it says under the historians, praising Buddhist art of early times as Negro. Higgins says, in consequence of the prejudice, for it is really prejudice against the Negro, or I ought rather to say against the possibility of a Negro being learned and scientific, arising from an acquaintance with the present Negro character. This is basically saying, you know, given the way that our people are today, it's kind of hard to believe that a Negro of the time, of times past, will be educated, you know, and learned and scientific and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Just, you know, some prejudice shit, you know what I mean? Anyway, it says, I admit with great difficulty the theory of all the earliest astronomical knowledge of the Chaldeans having been acquired or invented by his race, and that the Chaldees were originally Negroes. Okay? See, so they had knowledge of astronomy, man. Okay? They had knowledge of the stars, sun, moon, and stars and all of that. It says, but this prejudice wears away when I go to the precursors of the Brahmins and the Buddhists, and when I reflect upon the skill and the fine arts, which they must have possessed when they executed the most beautiful and the most ancient sculptures in the museum of the Indian house, and the knowledge of astronomy. See? So they had knowledge of astronomy, man. So that's how those Magi, that's how they knew, man, about the stars and all of that, and the star in the east, or they saw the star in the east, and they knew what it represented. Okay? So they knew they was Israelites, man. They knew they was Israelites. You know what I'm saying? It says, but this prejudice wears away when I go to the precursors of the Brahmins, the Buddhists, and when I reflect upon the skill and the fine arts which they must have possessed when they execute the most beautiful and most ancient sculptures in the museum of the India house, and the knowledge of astronomy shown in their cycles of stone, man. Come on, man. It says that the Buddhists were Negroes, the icons of their God clearly prove. That's from Sex and Race, Volume 1 by J.A. Rogers, page 266, man. So it's clear they had knowledge of astronomy. That's why they knew to follow that star in the east. And these are the sculptures, man, that they made, but it's obvious they whitewashed them. You know what I'm saying? The Mogao caves of China were constructed by black Buddhist Israelite tradesmen skilled in megalithic stone sculpture. Painters who painted the caves and statues. Come on, look at all that whitewash artwork, man. You know what I'm saying? Come on. Cover the faces of the judges. Let me go back a little. Okay, so dealt with that. Continuing on. So you see, we became sun worshippers. Get that real quick, Ezekiel. This is Ezekiel chapter 8. I'm going to start at verse 15. It says, Then said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. Verse 16, And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house. And behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men with their backs toward the temple of the Lord, and their faces toward the east. And they worshiped the sun toward the east. See? They worshiped the sun toward the east, man. Look at this image here. Black Buddhists worshiping the sun toward the east, man. Okay? We became pagans, man. You know what I'm saying? And even as a Christian, you know, our people as Christians worshiping the sun, man. Look at this, a black Buddhist facing the east with their back towards the temple, man. Turning their back on the Most High. Saying worshiping the sun. Here go another image, man. This black Buddhist down here. Worshiping the sun up there, man. You know? It says, Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence, and have returned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put the branch to the nose. Look at this. That's what they started. They had the nations starting to do this, man. Putting the branch to the nose. You know what I'm saying? Worshipping wood and stone. That's what the stick made of, man. Wood, man. Okay? That's like, you know, the stick in between the hands right there. It's like the phallus symbol. And the hands coming together with the phallus symbol in between. That's like the vagina, man. You bowing your head towards that symbolism that's represent sexual intercourse, man. You know what I'm saying? That's wicked. Bowing and worshiping intercourse, man. What's going on? Come on. Shoot. It says those Israelites living in the Persian Empire later influenced parts of India. The home of Buddha and Buddhism. Moreover, the history of the Israelites in relation to the Scythians seems to bring us to the conclusion that the Buddha himself was also an Israelite. Alright. Let's keep going on here. Hold on real quick. Alright, continuing on. It says, however, how can we be sure that the Buddha himself was indeed a descendant of the Scythians and Israelites? Click to read the Scythian Israelites, Aryans in Africa and abroad. Also, number 1, various historians confirm the original Buddha was Negro. We know the Negro is not from Ham but Shem. Okay, so you Israelites talking about that the black people in Africa that are Israelites are just Hamites. Come on, man. You can't say that here, because we ain't dealing with Africa. Okay? We are not dealing with Africa right now. We dealing with India, nigga. Okay? What you got to say now? Number 1, various historians confirm the original Buddha was Negro. We know the Negro is not from Ham but Shem. Number 2, the first Buddha, Shakyamuni, is from the Shaka clan. Number 3, the Shaka clan was a branch of Scythians. And Scythians are known to be Israelites. And I already showed y'all some of that information, history of that, in the first video. Okay, showed you that we were Scythians, we became Scythians, and we had a city called Scythopolis. Okay, and Scythians were there, and we do it with the Scythians. Back during the time of the Maccabees and the Romans. Okay, the Greeks and the Romans. Alright. I already read this right here. Let's continue on, man. These are all sculptures that Buddhists created, megalithic, monumental Buddhist structures, man. Okay. Because you know the scriptures tell us that we were skilled in embroidering and all of that, man. Okay. Continuing on, man. Anacalypsis. Alright, let's read what some of this guy right here got to say. It said the religion of Buddha of India is well known to have been very ancient, and the most ancient temples scattered throughout Asia, where his worship is yet continued. He is found black as jet. You see that, man? Black as jet. With the flat face, thick lips, and curly hair of the Negro. This is a black man, man. Northern Kingdom, Israelite. Most likely the tribe of Gad. Okay? Okay, because, matter of fact, let me go back. When we were taken into captivity, the majority of the Northern Kingdom that was taken, what were they? First Chronicles 5:26, okay? Let me just read this real quick. In the 734 BC, the Assyrian forces invaded the kingdom of Israel and took part of the tribes into captivity. This was the first invasion. The second invasion was around 720 BC, in which the Assyrians deported the rest who were not deported during the first invasion. Now, according to the Bible, the Israelites were sent to various locations to the east and their former kingdom. The books of First Chronicles and Second Kings give us a description as to where they resettled. In the book of First Chronicles 5:26 says, and the God of Israel stirred up the spirit of Pul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and carried them away, even the Reubenites and the Gadites in the half tribe of Manasseh, and brought them unto Halah and Habor and Harah, and to the river Gazan unto this day. Okay, now according to this author, that he's saying that a certain city was founded after the name Gad. Let me see if I can find that real quick, man. I think he said to mention it somewhere. Okay. Here it is down here. Alright, it says, start here. Now, Buddha's clan, as you already know by now, is Gautam, Gautama. All of these names point to none other than the tribe of Gad, as already stated. When we add the fact that they refer to themselves as Kathaya, which translates to Kush, then Gandhara, okay, seems to be the area of choice for the Gandhara, is next door to the lands called Kush. Gandhara in Old Persian was named Gadar, meaning Hara of Gad, and had been named after the tribe of Gad. This suggests the presence of that tribe at one time before this particular clan made their push into the land of Cush, and then finally settling in the land of what is today the nation of Nepal. So Gandhara, okay, is a reference to Gad. Okay. So we can find Gandhara on the map. Let's go there real quick. Okay, let me go to Gandhara on the map. Here we go, right there. See if I can blow it up. See, northwest India. Gandhara, that's in reference to Gad. Okay, which means Gad of Hara, all right? Gad of Hara. Tribe of Gad right there, man. Okay. So I guess the author is saying later on, as they settled here, they went into Kush in Africa, or Ethiopia in Africa. Okay. All right, so it makes sense because, they was taken in the tribe of Reuben, Gad, and half tribe of Manasseh was taken into Assyria. That was the second migration, according to the author, around 720 BC. Okay, the second invasion, 720 BC, and was Syrians deported the rest who stayed, who were not deported during the first invasion. Now, according to the Bible, the Israelites were sent to various locations to the east of their former kingdom. The books of First Chronicles, Second Kings gives us a description as to where they were resettled. In the book of First Chronicles 5:26, see? The Reubenites, the Gadites, half tribe of Manasseh, man. Come on. And brought them unto Halah and Habar and Harah, unto the river Gazan unto this day. Okay. So Gandhara in Old Persian was named Gadar, meaning Hara of Gad. So Gad was then Gandhara, man. Okay. That's what Gad was, right there in Gandhara of India. Or rather Afghanistan, but they later went to Nepal, then they went to Kush, Ethiopia. Okay. So we tying it all together, man, you know what I'm saying? All right. All right, so continuing on, man. Go back to this author down here. Still dealing with Buddha being a Negro. Okay, you know what I'm saying? We just all this showing you, man, where Buddha came from. It says the religion of Buddha of India is well known to have been very ancient in the most ancient temples scattered throughout Asia. Where his worship is yet continued, he is found black as jet, with the flat face, thick lips, and curly hair of the Negro. Several statues of him may be met with in the Museum of the East India Company. There are two exemplars of him brooding on the face of the deep upon a coiled serpent. Sound like Quetzalcoatl, man. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. You know what I mean? It says, to what time are we to allot this Negro? Right, because he's a black man. He's a Negro, man. Wasn't no Hamite. You can't talk about Ham over there now, because we ain't dealing with Africa. To what time are we to allot this Negro? He will be proved to have been prior to the god called Krishna. That's where you get Christ from, man. Like it says, that's the Hindu god. That ain't got nothing even to do with Buddhism. It says he must have been prior to or contemporaneous with the Black Empire, supposed by Sir William Jones to have flourished at Sidon. Because in Sidon, they had built Buddhist temples there as well, man. Okay. Because those Sidonians, they were sun worshippers too, man. Pagans, man. So the religion of this Negro god is found by the ruins of his temples and other circumstances to have been spread over an immense extent of country, even to the remotest parts of Britain. Okay. And to have professed by devotees inconceivably numerous. I very much doubt whether Christianity at this day is professed by more persons than yet profess the religion of Buddha. Of this I shall say more hereafter. Now they say the Stonehenge in Britain was a Buddhist temple. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how true that is. I ain't do no research really further on that. I'll just skip all of this here. You know, this looked like a witch, right? I'm saying this is where it all came. This is where it started, man. Look at the hats, the witch hats, man. You know? Continuing on, it says, in consequence of the prejudice, for it is really prejudice against the Negro, or I thought rather to say against the possibility of a Negro being learned and scientific, arising from an acquaintance with the present Negro character, I admit with great difficulty the theory of all the early astronomical knowledge of the Chaldees having been acquired or invented by his race, and that the Chaldees were originally Negroes. But this prejudice wears away when I go to the precursors of the Brahmins, the Buddhists, and when I reflect upon the skill in the fine arts which they must have possessed when they executed the beautiful and the most ancient sculptures in the museum of the India House, and the knowledge of astronomy shown in their cycles of stones, etc., etc., that the Buddhists were Negroes. The icons of the god clearly prove. Okay, that's from Anacalypsis, an attempt to draw aside the veil of the Sadic Isis, or an inquiry into the origin of languages, nations, and religion, volume 2 by Godfrey Higgins, page 364. So, man, like the scriptures say, Jacob is the former of all things, man. You know what I'm saying? You know? Oh, listen, Jeremiah 10:16 and 51 and 19. Read both of them. Jeremiah 10:16, the portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. Jeremiah 51:19. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. Come on, man. Man, you can't study world history without running into Israel. Matter of fact, world history is Israelite history. You know what I'm saying? You just you can't get around it, man. Can't. It says, I have said ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High, but ye shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. Psalm 82:6 and 7. Look at Esau bound down to Jacob. Teach us, great gods. Teach us. See, y'all got everything from us, man. Hey. So to return, however, to the history of Buddha, we find among the Brahmins an acknowledgement of his divinity as an avatar or incarnation of divine wisdom. In the history of his as such, in the first place, Buddha was a Negro, or rather he was what we should now call a Negro. If we saw him, his statues in the oldest temples of Asia are black as jet, with the flat face, thick lips, and curly hair of the Negro. In some cases, the stone is black. In others, which is more to the purpose, it has been blackened, and that this is not the effect of accident. It's pretty evident from his teeth and the whites of his eyes being white and his lips red. Buddha has many different names, 16 altogether. 3 of the chief ones are Buddha, Gautama, Saman, or Salmon. That's from the Eagle, Volume 7, page 147. Now look at these images, man. Look at these statues of the Buddha, man. Jet black. Okay. I ain't making this up, man. Look. Look at all these black Buddhists, man. Israelites. Tribe of Gad, most likely. You know? Reuben, half tribe of Manasseh. Look, black Buddhists, man. Look, they tried to whitewash it right here. Covering the faces of the judges. Job 9:24. You know what I'm saying? Look at this Buddhist. Buddha and the followers here around here. Black, man. Out of here. Negroes. Look at this black Buddha, man. Come on. Another little Buddha right there, man. Come on. Look at this. Black. Keep going. Look at all this, man. On the left, Buddha Jigong. Alright, that's the Buddha Jigong on the left. And on the right, bending bronze figure with conical hat. Right? Tibetan Buddha with conical hat. Phoenician conical hat. Come on, man. Alright, well, I think I'm gonna stop there. You know what I'm saying? Might do a part 3, man. I think y'all got the point. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on. You can't make this stuff up, man. Look at this. Black Buddhists, man. Israelites. Okay? With that, I'm going to say peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. And give all praises, glory, honor, thanksgiving to Yahweh, Bahar, Shema, Mashiach, Yahweh, Shah, Shalom.